Hi, welcome back to the 3-Season Diet Challenge, your free seasonal monthly eating guide. I hope you guys enjoyed the August packet. I hope you enjoyed the incredible recipes from Emma Frisch, who's one of the stars of the Food Network. She does an amazing job for us putting these recipes together. Please try them. They're nothing short of phenomenal and super easy to make. This is your September video. We are in September. Kids are back in school, we're back into our routine, summer's winding down. There's a huge transition in nature right now. There's a thing called a nectar surge in nature, where a lot of, for example, the dandelion flowers, which were kind of blooming and going crazy in the spring, are doing the same thing in the fall right now as we speak. And this is a lot of plants are flowering and blooming this time of the year to give the bees all the food that they need to weather a long cold winter. So there's a big nectar surge taking place, lots of pollen in the air. We have a thing called hay fever, which is an interesting word, hay fever. Hay is, from all the grasses and pollens in the air, and fever means heat, too much heat. So this is an interesting thing. In Ayurveda, we call it a thermal accumulation. At the end of the summer, the heat accumulates and accumulates and accumulates, and inside of us, the heat tends to rise and it tends to dry out our sinuses. When the sinuses get too dry, they produce a bunch of reactive mucus. When they get too dry, they're very vulnerable or irritated by the nectar surge, all the pollens that are in the air. And if the mucous membranes are too dry, because of the heat and dryness of the summer, they don't protect us from the pollens and the irritants as well. If the mucous membranes produce excess reactive mucus, which they do, they're mucous membranes, you irritate them, they make mucus, then that extra mucus becomes too boggy. So it's kind of like the three little bears. It can't be too mucusy, can't be too dry, it has to be just right. So it's tricky, actually, to get it to be just right inside your sinuses. And then if you have the thermal accumulation of the heat rising, which dries it out significantly, then all of a sudden we get this extra dryness, this extra vulnerability from the pollens, and next thing you know, we have the hay, the irritation, the fever, the heat rising. In nature, there's a great metaphor for that, where the heat accumulates, thermal accumulation. It goes into the trees, the heat rises into the trees, it dries out the leaves of the trees, and the leaves fall off the trees. And the tree gets rid of all its leaves, which is great for the tree, but what about us? We don't have leaves that fall. We have heat that accumulates inside of us. So nature said, I got a plan. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna harvest all the foods in the end of the summer that are going to cool you down, and if you eat plenty of them, will purgate a lot of that heat out of your body. Apples, if you go to the Northeast or the Northwest where they make and grow tons of apples, everybody in October and September is walking around with loose bowel movements because they've eaten so much apple pie and apple sauce and apple butter and apple juice and apple cider. And all this apple has a lot of pectin, and it has a purgative effect. And one of the ways the body dissipates heat is by purgation. A baby who gets a fever, for example, always usually gets loose or bowel movements or diarrhea. The diarrhea is the body's attempt to get the heat out of the body, to get rid of the fever. And in the same way, nature gives us all these fruits in abundance. For example, an apple tree has a crazy amount of apples in it, and if you eat even just some of them, you often get a little looser stool, and that takes the heat and helps it go down versus up, which can cause dryness, hay fever, and a whole bunch of problems. And if that heat isn't dealt with now in the beginning of September, then that heat can go up and dry the sinuses out and predispose you when winter comes to we have hot and dry in the summer and cold and dry in the winter, and what accumulates potentially is the dryness. We'll talk about that later on in October and November, but the prevention, this is a key preventative month for cold and flu season, because if you go into the winter with an accumulation of dryness, and winter's dry, sinuses dry out, they produce reactive mucus, and you have a breeding ground for colds and flu. So we don't want to have that. And this all takes place now, really in the months of September and October. September is, all the fruits are being harvested, the leafy greens, watermelons, pomegranates are all my favorite, super cooling foods. I've written an article about the super cooling foods for the end of the summer, and they're really good right through September, right through October. Really, really important for us to know that. And also, we talked about this last month, but the digestive strength in the summer isn't really that strong, and it hasn't actually turned on yet. It'll turn on in October. It doesn't turn on until then. So this month, we're still in that last month of doing our best to eat as clean as possible. Lots of fresh vegetables and fresh fruits and salads and things like that. Last month, I challenged you all to see how long you can make it by eating, really lighter foods, eating foods off the vine versus having to cook or barbecue or milkshakes or all these heavy foods, which tend to require a much stronger digestive heat. So September is a wonderful month. You get the heat, you also get the pollens, which can be irritating. So one of the ways to do that is by getting the heat out now. Apples, pomegranates, watermelons, even fresh juices, blended or better. Coconut oil is extremely good, a great refrigerant. And then, of course, we're really preparing for October and cleansing season. In a way, this is the end of the summer. You could definitely cleanse in September and get a lot of the heat out of your body. But the accumulation doesn't end until the end of October. So we usually tend to do our big cleanse in October to really flesh it out, reset and turn the digestion on in a big way for winter, which is right around the corner. And winter's gonna sort of help us turn the digestive system on. We're gonna do that so we can begin to digest all the heavy winter foods, the root vegetables, and the more proteins and more fats that naturally occur in winter. So I hope that makes sense. Please check out all the articles and videos that are in your packet. Please try Emma's recipes. They're nothing short of really super easy and really delicious. And I hope you guys like that. Tell your friends about the 3-Season Diet Challenge, the free seasonal monthly eating guide. My goal is to get everybody, as many as we can, to experience what it's like to crave and eat and enjoy what's in season. And then the microbes that are supposed to come out of the ground now are completely different than what they came out in the spring. The microbes on the dandelion that came out in the springtime, even though it's the same looking flower, are completely different microbes than they are now. In the spring, they were helping to dissipate mucus and get ready to cool the body down. In the winter, those microbes are supporting immunity and possibly even starting to build the heat back into the body. Definitely helping the body store a little winter insulation or a little bit of winter fat. It's just a fascinating world that we're just beginning to understand. And I love the fact that Ayurvedic medicine kind of laid out all these principles. They didn't exactly know that there were microbes doing all this, but they sure did lay out a science that as we begin to understand the microbes, that science was exactly what those microbes needed to give us the optimal health that we needed to change from one season to the next. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you guys in October. Have a great September. I'm Dr. John Douillard. Hi, did you like this video? Do you like our content here at LifeSpa? You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/John Douillard right here and get this valuable content every week in your inbox.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at lifespa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.